switch over to the third keynote lecture. We have with us a person with both academic and field experience, Professor Kumar Pichumani. He is going to talk to us on reclamation and ground improvement of soft marine clay for development of offshore terminal 4 at JNPT, Navi Mumbai. Dr. Pichumani is presently with AECOM India Private Limited. I will briefly read out his biodata. Professor Kumar Pichumani has 27 years of experience in the field of geotechnical engineering. It includes teaching, research, consulting, analysis.
I'm joined.
Analysis and design in various aspects of geotechnical engineering. His experience includes foundation design for various types of structures in transportation and marine infrastructure projects. He has been responsible for various projects involving ground improvement of soft clay and reclamation fields. He has been involved in design of underground structures of metro projects, presently involved with Nagpur Metro, Kolkata Metro, and Chennai Metro. If we look at his appointment, he has been working earlier after PhD from IIT Kanpur. He worked with Kolar Goldfield, and then he was with IIT Madras as faculty in civil engineering, and then he joined L&T Rambol as a consulting engineer. Do we have time? Shall I read it again?
I think it's not required.
You can continue, sir.
Okay. I think we will come back to your biodata. Everybody knows you, so you please proceed with your lecture.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Professor Gandhi. Very nice introduction. Nice to see Shahrukh Bagli also. Met him long time back. So it's good. I thank IGC, Professor Satyanarayana, to have given me this opportunity to give me a presentation, or a keynote lecture on the practical aspects which I have been involved with. Shahrukh, please let me know when 5 minutes are left. I have a small video which I would like to present. So
Let's see how we are with the time. And,
sure.
And unfortunately, you're touching a topic which is very dear to my heart. So I don't know how I'll be able. It will break my heart to interrupt you.
Oh, that's okay.
I've been working in JNPT also. Fine, let's go ahead.
So what, during the last 5 minutes, please let me know.
Sure.
I will show a small video, which is just 3 minutes.
Sure.
That captures the entire JNPT project from the design stage to the execution, which will be very useful for everybody. Okay. Is my screen visible?
It's blank. Yeah, now it's visible, but you'll go in the presentation.
Yeah. That's right.
There you go. Fine.
Okay. Right. So I have 20 minutes, you said, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay,
and
right.
15 minutes, I will warn you.
15 minutes, you'll warn me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So this is my lecture on reclamation and ground improvement of soft marine clay at JNPT. So this is the terminal from the Google image. The red line shows the entire project that is to be constructed. The area was around 100 hectares. So we had a large amount of investigation done. This is just a glimpse of it, some 89 boreholes. Let's not go into details. So what I mean to say is a large number of investigations were done, appropriate investigations were done. So the topsoil, as you see, which is unit 1, is soft clay, very soft clay. So 0 to -4 is very soft clay, -4 to -12 is soft marine clay with SPT values of 8. Now, since these SPT values were low, these were the investigations which were done before at the tender stage itself or by the client himself. So this is how the entire clay thickness varies. You can see here the red shows almost 20 to 24 meters of thick clay, and the green shows far lesser depths, even 4 to 7 and 8 meters of clay. So the variation of clay depths varied from 4 meters to 22 to 24 meters. So these are the Atterberg limits. If you see, it is liquid limit is between 70 to 110. Natural moisture content was 30 to 80%, and plasticity index was 60 to 120. indicating that the soil is the clay is very plastic. This was the undrained shear strength. As you see, you have the CPT plots, vein shear plots, all of them are over here. SPTs were not considered over here because we had much better tests. And if you see the strength of the soil within the top 4 meters up to say minus 3.5 is less than even 5 kPa. After that, it increases gradually. So the project consisted of construction of a terminal for JNPT, which is the 4th terminal on top of this soil. So the existing bed level was at 0. It had to be raised to +7. So 7 meters of completed fill. So that indicates that how much of consolidation settlements will take place. I'll show you all the details now. So basically the problem is of soft soil, compressible soil, and we need to have a reclamation with ground improvement. So as you see over here, the CV values were also very small, 0.85 to few values were more than 2, but predominantly most of the values were in the range of 1 to 1.5. Similarly, coefficient of radial consolidation 1.9 to 4. So most of them were in the range of 2 to 4. CH, which was done from cone dissipation tests, also showed values in the range of 3.5 to 4.8 meters square per year. The CR, that is CC upon 1 plus E naught, varies from 0.15 to 0.35. C alpha secondary compression was between 0.015 to 0.035. The pre-consolidation ratio over here, you see C alpha by CC was in the range of 0.033. Over-consolidation ratio on the surface was high. So typically the marine deposits were, because of tidal variation, this OCR is there. Beyond that, the OCR reduced over depth. This shows the design parameters. We'll need not look at it now, but to give a brief for this one, CC upon 1 plus E naught varied from 0.19 to 0.3 and CV was 0.8 to 1.7. So what we did was this entire stretch. So now if you see that rectangular portion, this is the length of 1 kilometer by half a kilometer width. This is the container terminal, and this strip of land went up to 4 kilometers length, which included the rail and road track. The width over here was 100 meters. So the entire area was broken down into number of zones. These zones were depending on the thickness of the clay, the properties of the clay, and the various loadings that are going to come on top of this. So if you see here, here it is zone 7, which is very small. This is where the building was going to come. Zone 6 over here, also there was a building. So the loading was different and hence zoning was done there. So we had to do 3 types of analysis. So we were the consultants for the detailed design consultants for ITD cementation. They were the contractors executing this project for BMCT. That is the PSA. PSA's Indian counterpart, Port of Singapore Authorities, Indian counterpart was BMCT. For them, this was being executed. So the conditions were like this: slope stability. So we need to have a reclamation fill, and the edge of the fill will obviously be a slope, and hence the slope stability analysis. We needed to have a temporary condition factor of safety of 1.3, permanent condition factors of safety. Then settlement analysis, we had to have this is the main residual settlement of less than 100 mm in 2 years, less than 150 mm in 5 years, and less than 300 mm in 20 years. So these are very stringent requirements for such soft clay. Then deformation analysis of the edge structures. Vertical deformation was 25 mm and horizontal deformation was restricted to 75 mm. Now let us look at the slope stability analysis for the perimeter bund. So this is how the entire reclamation is going to be. Approximately 0 was the bed level, 2.5 was the seabed, the water level. It varied from, the tides varied from 0.75 to plus 4.4. So the mean sea level is plus 2.5. Plus 7 was the final level. On this we had, on the 1 kilometer that container area, the container stacks would be giving a loading of 50 kPa. Rails will give a loading of 30 kPa and the road a loading of 10 kPa. Then on the edges, you have revetments which had to be designed for the earthquake and the static condition. You see the soft marine clay varied from 5 meters to 18 meters thick. CU was varying from 5 to 7 kPa up to the top 2 to 5 meters. Beyond that, the strength improved. Now this is the construction sequence. One second. This is the construction sequence. So first you raise the level to plus 5.5 because the maximum water that would go up was up to plus 4.8. So the contractor said we will fill it up to plus 5.5 and then we will do all the ground improvement that is required. So the first challenge was to raise the level up to plus 5.5. Then the PVDs were installed. Then the next level, now depending on the design, we had to raise it to a next level of plus 8. Then depending on the loading, it had to be raised to a level of plus 12 or plus 10 or plus 10.5, depending on whether it is 50 kPa loading, the 30 kPa loading or the 10 kPa loading. That is the final loading that's going to come. So this is all the surcharge that was put. And then finally, the everything was removed to plus 11. You see this, so the whole area was divided into different layers, different zones. And the shear strength over here, as you see, is was varying in this fashion. The top 2 meters, 3 meters was around 5 kPa. See, here it is around 7.5 kPa. Now what happened? See the top, so the filling process was basically end-on dumping. So from the existing road, which was at plus 7, we started moving down into the reclamation area and started filling. So what happened is we need to fill up to 5.5. So 0 to 5.5 meters of filling is a sufficient loading, because of which soil displacement took place. The top 2 to 3 meters of soft clay got displaced, obviously because of the bearing capacity problem. This created mud wave. I'll show you a picture of mud wave. Then what happened was all the soil up to almost 10 to 12 kPa got removed, mud waved, and the shear strength of the bottom soil started from 13.5 kPa from minus 4 MCD. So you can see this figure. The before filling, you had the bed level, which is at plus 1, which is shown by the green triangle. And after filling, the entire level came down to almost minus 2, depending on how the strength of the clay was. It varied from minus 2 to minus 1. So almost 2 to 3 meters of replacement took place. Then we did confirmatory borings over there to check the shear strength. And if you see the circle which shows the confirmatory boreholes, the shear strength was close to around 15 kPa. So all soils which were less than that 13.5 to 14 kPa got mud waved. See, this is how the mud wave is. This black portion is all the soft clay which has been mud waved. This is the filling. The brown portion is the filling. And this is the mud wave. You can see that the level to which the mud wave has risen is almost to the level of the fill, which was at plus 5.5. So the mud wave itself had risen from 0 to almost plus 4. So it's 4 meters of mud wave had been formed. So then geotechnical parameters of reclamation fill, let me not go into this, which was used for the analysis. So the ground improvement methodology was PVD, surcharge, and raise it in stages. I'll show you how it was raised. So initially up to plus 5.5, then plus 5.5 to 7 or 8, depending on where the surcharge was, and plus 7 or plus 8 to the final surcharge level. Then maintain the loading until 95% consolidation was over, and then it is cut down to plus 7 for the finished level. So PVDs were installed. These are some figures of the PVD. Slope stability analysis was performed. So now there were two cases. One is under temporary condition, the factor of safety should be 1.3. And under permanent condition for static and seismic, the factor of safety had to be 1.5 and 1.1. So achieving a factor of safety of 1.3 in static, in the temporary condition, was the biggest challenge. Especially now when you have to raise it to plus 5.5 without any reinforcement, we said that this is impossible, and hence we maintained a factor of safety of 1, close to 1, until we reach plus 5.5, and after that we maintained this. So because of this temporary condition being very high, we needed layers, 1 layer or 2 layers of geotextile only for the temporary condition. Now these are slope stability analysis that were performed. Now the most important thing that we need to consider, see, you see this line over here, this is the final level or final structure that is going to come. But since the soil was slope, very soft below, the entire soil below the slope also had to be reinforced or improved to such an extent that over the next 100 years, there would be no failure. Because of this, we had to have an overfill. So here you see there is a 12 meters of overfill. See this over here, 12 meters of overfill. In certain areas, there were almost 25 meters of overfill. So the PVDs were placed through this overfill. So much of extra fills were considered. Look at this. Here also there is an overfill. And at some levels, you have geotextile over here. So here there is a geotextile at plus 5.5. Here also there is a geotextile at plus 5.5. This was required because at plus 12, when you raise, the slope stability was not achieving a factor of safety of 1.3. Then these are all temporary conditions. So the different factors of safety are mentioned over here. Let me not go into all that. Then we waited for 95% consolidation. And then the overfill was cut back to the required geometry. So that is of most importance. See over here, the overfill was later cut back. So this is the final geometry. You had an overfill over here. If you can see my arrow, you had an overfill over here. All that was removed. Now the strength was sufficient enough to get a factor of safety of 1.5 for static and 1.1 for seismic. So this is how the drawing was. This is very clearly shown. This is the final surface that was required, whereas the overfill had gone up to this level. Okay, so all the overfill was put over here so that the final thing is reached. Final strength is reached within this area. Then we'll go into the settlement analysis, that is ground improvement. These parameters I have already discussed. The loading was up to plus 10.5 to plus 12. So PVDs were used. Now, while using these PVDs, we had a spacing of 1 almost in most of the areas. 1.2 was in some areas. The smear effect was very, very drastically shown because some of the designs, we had designed the PVD, we had designed the surcharge to be placed for 3 months, but in some places it went up to 4 or 5 or almost 6 months until the 95% consolidation was over. So let me not go into details of this one. I'll go into the instrumentation analysis and the back analysis, instrumentation and back analysis. So this is most important because we had to monitor whether the 95% consolidation is completed or not. So these are the various types of instruments. You had settlement gauges, we had piezometers, magnetic extensometers, and inclinometers at the edges. Some photographs of the setup. Now this is how the entire plan was. We had a settlement markers at every 25 meter spacing, and then this G, B, I indicates inclinometers, G indicates ground settlement markers, B indicates boreholes. All these were included, so many instruments were there. Almost 2,000 settlement markers. You can see the numbers over here over the entire 90 hectares of 80 to 100 hectares of reclamation. So this is, you see spots at every 25 meters. Some instrument or the other were there. The detail A, B, C, D are a combination of different instruments. So from the this one, now a little bit of back analysis. So we had an existing settlement curve. We back fitted the settlement curve or did, what do you call, from the theoretical prediction, we the settlement data that was observed was tried to fit by adjusting the parameters. So based on this, so we had 3 types of data. One is settlement gauges, then the piezometers, and magnetic extensometers. So these are plots from extensometers and settlement gauges. Back analysis was done by the alpha method, and CH of 3.75 to 4 was obtained. And here smear ratio and the those were also obtained, the ratio of the permeability. So smear ratio was 2.5, permeability ratio was 3 to 4. That first one was the curve fitting method. Then comes the alpha method using Hansbo's equation, converting it into a straight line. And these are the curves that we got. And when you do this back analysis, we got a CH value of 3.7, the smear resisting of 2.5, and KH by KS of 3. I mean, we kept these two constant and tried to adjust so that the curve fitted almost perfectly. This is again back. Yeah, 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's almost over. So range of values that we got matched with almost what we considered, although what we considered was a little on the conservative side. So this is the finished container yard, which has been handed over. This port is operational. This terminal is operational since 2017. Terminal 4 of JNPT, it is doing extremely well. These are the railway tracks. This is the building. So that is how, wait. So now what I'll do is I'll show you the video. For audio, what should I do? Satyanarayana?
Sir, you have the options on the top, sir.
Yeah. Share compound sound, computer sound.
Yes, exactly, sir.
Okay, right. So this video shows how the entire project was done. Is it audible?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, fine. Paycom was the detailed design consultant for the contractor ITD cementation for BMCT project at JNPT, Navi Mumbai. The reclamation is the largest in the country, which is around 100 hectares. There were a myriad of challenges that were faced during execution.
The subsoil profile below seabed level comprised of 4 to 18 meter of very soft clay. You could imagine the top 5 meter was as soft as butter. Above this, a finished reclamation land must be created for the container yard and railroad corridor.
The greatest geotechnical challenge for Chennai team was to give the most simple but robust ground improvement scheme by installing PVDs that could be executed by a local contractor.
Slope stability analysis and deformation analysis were carried out. The entire project was completed within 27 months with elaborate instrumentation and monitoring.
That the project was executed to the utmost satisfaction of BMCT. I am sure my team would agree that this is one of the most fascinating projects for any geotechnical engineer. Okay, thank you.
Good.
Thank you, sir.
Professor Kumar Jani.
Thank you, Gandhi. Thank you, Bagli.
Yeah, I think as Dr. Bagli has mentioned, it is his favorite subject. I just want to add, it was a very interesting project, and JNPT is known for the mudslides, mud waves.
Yes.
And this is experience when the first international terminal came up there, and subsequently during the Portcraft and shallow water berth which came up with a diaphragm wall, we have seen how the mud wave has displaced the piles of the approach jetty, and the pile tilted and they had to be replaced. This offshore terminal is still further challenging because you have gone deeper into the water, and the thickness of soft clay is larger there, and I think the size of the project is somewhat similar to what Adani Port is presently doing at Mundra, but that is not having a soft clay, fortunately, in the
Yeah,
bed.
it is all
there.
sand. Yes.
Yeah, it's all sand there. And here, the magnitude of settlement was almost equal to what was there at Kanla seventh berth.
Hmm.
And instrumentation shows that settlement of 1.2 meter. There it was
Yes.
1.35 meters.
Hmm.
I think very challenging work, extensive instrumentation and detailed analysis done by AECOM. Congratulations for this project. I
Thank you,
think I
Dr.
will
Reddy.
Dr. Bagley to have some remarks on this.
Yeah, sure. I'll be too happy because I've had two trysts with this type of soil, the marine clay of Thane Creek. We prefer to call it Thane Creek
Correct,
from the
correct.
CRZ point of view. So
Yes.
pardon me calling it Thane Creek and not the Arabian Sea.
Yeah.
Well, I've had the experience of Trombay, where the Tata power plant is, and of course Nhava Sheva, now called JN Port.
Hmm.
Well, I've got some points, so I'll summarize a little. Well, Dr. Pichumani very well explained how the design of the jetty has been done, taking into account the vagaries of the marine clay, which is typically Bombay marine clay, as it is called.
Yes.
And he has also highlighted the importance of instrumentation, and you're very lucky that you are allowed to spend money on instrumentation, which is something which is in India, well, people don't want to spend money on instrumentation. You've also brought up two aspects of overfill. One is an overfill because of the replacement of the clay, because of the mud wave, and the other is the necessity for having an overfill to create that much of pressure to develop the pore pressures to release to consolidate the marine clay. There is one question I'd like to ask you, sir.
Sure.
Having worked on this marine clay, you've mentioned some geotechnical parameters which could be well brought out in the laboratory on undisturbed samples. Now, I know that AECOM may not have been associated with the geotechnical investigation, but how were undisturbed samples taken in butter clay?
We were involved in the investigations as part of detailed design consultants. We had told ITD Cementation to do a lot of investigation. So to collect undisturbed samples, we asked various people. It was not a small we inserted a larger diameter tube or 100 mm tube as advised by IIT Madras. Professor Robinson did the radial consolidation tests on them. So we used 100 mm diameter core samples into the top portion alone, took it out, and then through that the central portion of the cylinder, the UDS was collected. So the tests were done on those samples, which were supposed to be quite reasonable. Same thing was done by Fugro.
Yeah, but I'm sure that your values were very conservative because of that.
Correct. That's why if you see, we took 1 meter square per year as the CEV value.
Yeah.
But if you see the cone dissipation test, it showed a much higher value.
Yeah.
Although we were not very comfortable in taking those values because we had to be conservative.
Probably you may have had to revert to tables of birth look, but then, well, that's a different matter altogether.
Correct.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.